Hey, Susanna. Okay, I have 7:30.
Okay.
Is everybody ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. I call this meeting to order. Due to the COVID-19 health emergency, this meeting is being held by a video conference in order for the Board of Education to conduct its business. This board meeting is being
Excuse me. We've got interference with a cell phone, which is interfering with Mrs. Becker's statement. Sorry, Vicki.
That's okay. Can I just go from where I was?
Yep.
Okay. It's being streamed on YouTube on the district website at www.ebnet.org. In addition, members of the public who wish to provide comment during the good of the cause for the public portion of the meeting may do so through Zoom, remote video conferencing system. Free direct access is available by entering the URL that you are about to see on your screen. Or not, I shall read it. Oh, there we go. The URL that you see on the screen into the web browser of your computer or mobile device and entering the meeting ID and password that you also see on the screen. Upon joining the meeting, your participation will automatically be muted to ensure that there is no disruption to the business being conducted by the Board of Education. In order to be recognized, select the chat feature in Zoom, then enter and send your name to the meeting host. You will be recognized to speak when your name is called. Individuals will be invited to speak in the order in which we have received your request. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu?
Here.
Mr. Sismar?
Here.
Mrs. Guas? Mr. Hong?
Here.
Mrs. Lax?
Here.
Mrs. Reese?
Here.
Mr. Simmons?
Here.
Mr. Winston?
Here.
President Becker?
Yes, we have a quorum. After the Pledge of Allegiance, I'm going to ask that you remain standing for a moment of silence, which will be observed in memory of Regina Zarnecki, who passed away suddenly on June 10th, 2020. Miss Zarnecki was a 2013 East Brunswick High School graduate with honors who went on to attend Monmouth University. Since 2017, Regina worked in our after-school program at Central Elementary School, where she won Activity Assistant of the Year in 2019. Regina was dedicated, patient, and had a special place in her heart for our students. Our thoughts and heartfelt sympathies are with her loved ones. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United
States
States
of America and to the republic
for
for
which
which
it stands, one nation,
under God,
indivisible, with liberty.
Liberty and justice for all.
Please remain standing. You may be seated. Thank you. New Jersey Open Public Meeting Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the East Brunswick Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published at the Board of Education offices. Also was provided to the Sentinel, the Newark Star Ledger, the Home News and Tribune, and the Municipal Clerk of East Brunswick. All Board of Education meetings, with the exception of executive session discussions, are videotaped for later broadcast, and individuals who speak at the board's public meetings should be aware of these videotaping rules. Good evening. Going to start off tonight, as always, with our superintendent's report. Dr. Valesky?
Thank you, President Becker, and good evening to everyone. The class of 2020 virtual graduation ceremony was a huge success. And special thanks to Dr. Michael Vanello, who's principal, Matt Hannis, assistant principal, and John McMiniman, our district multimedia manager, for all their work to make the virtual graduation a special moment for our seniors and their families. During our planning process, we were investigating a lot of options from private service providers. I was getting multiple emails each day, and as you can imagine, we had a plethora of offers for us to consider and evaluate. And John typically displays a quiet humbleness, but he is absolutely the best at his craft of anyone I've ever been associated with. And near the conclusion of a particular discussion about producing the virtual graduation, I asked John, as we're evaluating other offers, what do you think? He simply responded, I can do it better. And he did. Thank you, John. It was clear your production was a tremendous hit with the parents who reached out to me. Congratulations also to Bernardo Giuliana, Business Administrator and Board Secretary, Joseph Crotchfeld, Director of Financial Services, Tara Rosenving, Senior Manager, and the entire Finance Department for the 7th consecutive award of the Certificate of Excellence in Financial Reporting from the Association of School Business Officials International. This latest one is for the Comprehensive Annual Financial Report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2019. And ASBO recognizes districts that have met the program's high standards for financial reporting and transparency. And while awards like this are tangible artifacts of achievement, I get to see how hard Bernie, Joe, Tara, and their entire team work every day, even harder most days in this virtual environment, to maintain the high fiscal integrity of the district and oversee the utilization of local, state, federal, enterprise, and grant resources in the most efficient, prudent, and responsible manner. Many thanks and sincere appreciation to all of you. The East Brunswick Board of Education has adopted policies and regulations that guide the creation of the district's curriculum. Our curriculum is constantly undergoing review, and substantial and ongoing work among the Board of Education, administrators, and community representatives ensure that East Brunswick's curriculum is rigorous, balanced, and reflective of our community. I would like to emphasize that the equity work we have undertaken over the past 6 years and our ongoing commitment to invest in both curricular enhancements and professional development that support, reinforce, and sustain a culture of inclusiveness in East Brunswick. And details of our ongoing curricular equity focus can be found on the Refocusing tab on the homepage of our website at ebnet.org. And finally, to everyone who contributed to the successful conclusion of our 2020 school year, whether you were teaching and constantly checking in with your students and trying to maintain that connection with them, whether you were supporting teaching, delivering food in the community that was desperately needed by so many families, or paying vendors, or taking care of our facilities while everyone was trying to work remotely. So many people, both visible and behind the scenes, contributed to this tremendous effort and success to concluding this year. It's not what we expected. It's not how we expected when we started this year to finish this year. But, you know, as the singer Frank Sinatra said, we did it our way. And I think we did a really good job. And we've gotten some feedback from the community, and we're taking that under advisement. Not everything was perfect. And And I'll be the first to admit we have areas where we can begin to improve, and we've started to investigate that. But there are so many things that went right, and so many things that went right because so many intelligent people invested. And finally, to the Board of Education, thank you so much for your support. We couldn't have done it without this governing body backing us up all along the way. So tomorrow, Governor Murphy has announced that he plans to give us guidance for the reopening of school. And yet we don't know what that is. But we're not at the finish line. This is a marathon, and we just crossed the first water station, and we're about ready to head towards the finish line. But the finish line will not be crossed until we reopen school safely and we eventually return to normal operations. So again, thank you to a very supportive community, to all of our families who shifted along with us and adopted roles they never expected to fill as we started this school year. But they did it with the highest level of integrity, and they kept a smile on their face most of the time. And we made it. So congratulations to everyone. Thank you to everyone for all your support. Thanks.
Thank you, Dr. Valesky. You did leave someone and a few other people off of that list, and that would be yourself and your incredible central office staff who have literally been working 24/7 throughout this whole thing. I don't know how we could have done this without you. So thank you to all of you.
Thanks.
Now we're up to the good of the cause for the public. As a reminder, members of the public who wish to provide comment must do so through Zoom, a remote video conferencing system. Free direct access is available by entering, can we see the screen again, Bernie?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. If you enter this URL into the web browser of your computer or mobile device, and then enter the meeting ID and password, upon joining the meeting, your participation will automatically be muted to ensure there is no disruption to the business being conducted by the Board of Education. In order to be recognized, select the chat feature in Zoom, then enter and send your name to the meeting host. You will be recognized to speak when your name is called. Individuals will be invited to speak in the order in which we have received your request. Unless you are a student, a minor, please give your name and address for the record. Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues. To protect the privacy of all students and staff, concerns regarding individual students and staff members should generally be addressed by first meeting with the appropriate administrative staff. Participants will be limited to 3-minute duration. Is there anyone wishing to speak to the board tonight?
We have no one requesting to speak.
I actually just saw someone came up on my screen. Rebecca Gallanter.
Have no chat coming to the meeting host. Did you receive, you said you received one?
Yeah.
Okay,
Rebecca Gallanter to everyone. I'd like to speak. Rebecca Gallanter.
she just appeared. Okay.
Hi, good evening, everybody. I don't know if the video is supposed to be on, but it's not. My name is Rebecca Gallanter. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Great, I just want to make sure. I'm a resident here for 24 years. I have 2 children that have very proud graduates of EB Public Schools. My second child just graduated, so he is, of course, a 2020 senior. I'm really just wanting to let all of you know how pleased I have been with all of the efforts that have been put forth towards all of the graduation festivities. I'm an administrator myself, so I fully appreciate how complicated and difficult this process has been. To have so many variables and unknowns is very, very difficult, even for anyone. You add having, thousands upon thousands of students, I can't even imagine. But I would like you to know that I know I speak for many parents because I have organized a Facebook page on this topic. It's definitely been a trying experience, but certainly very rewarding as well. So I want to really sincerely thank you. The door decorating, the billboard, the virtual was beautiful. And I have to agree that the highlight was definitely certainly seeing my son, of course, on the video. But aside from that, the choir and the music was absolutely just spectacular. So that's really all I want to say. I just want to thank everybody for all of your efforts. And I'm sure that it's been a 24/7 type of situation, in particular for Dr. Vanilla. It's been great getting to know you as well. And that's it. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you for coming to speak to the board tonight, Rebecca. Is there anyone else wishing to address the Board of Education? Is there any? Thank you. No? Okay, seeing none, I close the public portion. First part of our agenda are annual actions that we take every year to renew. There are 24 of them. So I'm going to ask for a motion for 1 to 24. And of course, there is the option and time to discuss each and any of them that any board member wishes. So may I please have a motion for the annual action agenda tonight?
So moved.
Mark.
Moved by Susanna, second by Mark. Is there any discussion? I actually had here. And I see that Mrs. Gauss has been able to join us. Welcome, Heather. Victor, if you wouldn't mind, item number 8 talks about the NJSIAA, which is the Association for High School Sports. So that kind of reminded me of hearing certain things in different articles and statements from the state about what's going on with high school sports. I know this is one of those things that could change every single day, but as of today, what are we looking for in September?
Well, it's hard to tell, President Becker, what September is going to look like. So right now, what NJSIAA, which is, they've issued guidelines for the, I've got the document right here, return to play guidelines, dated June 19th. And this is for the period July 13th through July 26th only. And this is for conditioning of athletes. It's purely voluntary, but it allows on a limited basis contact of students, under regulations with some pre-certification through questionnaires and some medical checking when they come onto the field, number of students that can participate together, what kinds of activities they can do. So that's where we are right now. The guidelines are going to be combed out in tiered or phased as part of, I believe, in alignment with what the governor is allowing to happen in the private sector. But also you have to understand, as I'm sure you all do, that those guidelines, those allowances can change from week to week or even day to day, depending on what's happening with the COVID situation. And you may have seen in the news recently that the governors of New York, Connecticut, along with Governor Murphy from New Jersey, have imposed a mandatory quarantine for people who are migrating back into New Jersey from 8 individual states, primarily from the South and Midwest. So things continue to change. We monitor not just daily, but literally hourly until well into the night, because things get released late at night, or we're seeing things released via Twitter. And then essentially in the governor's press conference. But NJSIAA is kind of, through their executive board, gotten together and developed this document that aligns for all the athletic directors very specifically what needs to happen and how it should happen in order to bring athletes back this summer, starting July 13th at the first date, for only conditioning activities. So that's where we are.
Okay, as far as district procedure goes, maybe Lou, maybe you might know. In in terms of parents having to get in paperwork and student athletes having their physicals and having that paperwork filed also with the district, are all of those deadlines the same? Has anything changed because of the pandemic?
Lou,
Yes,
do you want to go ahead and answer? We both have the answer, but you can go ahead and answer that.
Sure. One of the things that has changed is that the state is looking to allow for athletes who have already had a physical last fall, that physical will be okay for this fall as well. There is a piece in that we're a little concerned about. It does mention that if it's possible to get a physical again during the season, that they would recommend that. So that's a little different. It does take a little of the pressure off parents to have to go out there and get that physical. But it also leaves it open that the state is asking that if we can get those athletes, eventually get them physicals before the end of the season. That's what they're requesting.
And President Becker, if I could, there is a huge amount of reliance on self-reporting by the athletes and their families to assert that they are healthy to participate, that they have not been exposed to COVID. Nobody in their family has been exposed to COVID. So those are things, as we know, there are people that are carriers that are asymptomatic. And so somebody, to the best of their ability could answer that question, but still could be somebody that could infect other groups of people. So that's where it becomes very, it's concerning. It's concerning. I understand the athletes wanting to get back together. I understand the coaches wanting to reconnect with their athletes. I understand wanting to prepare for the fall season. And along with that, I'm also concerned about the uncertainty of some of the documentation and the self-certification and the reliance on self-certification to make sure that everyone's safe and healthy.
Ms. Becker, one of the things, just also to add to that, one of the things we will be doing when the athletes do come back is we will be taking temperature checks. We'll be making sure we survey them. We'll also be monitoring very closely to make sure that they're healthy and that they're doing well. But as Dr. Valesky said, a lot of it is going to be self-reliant on in terms of what information they're bringing to us.
Okay, thank you, Lou. I was actually going to ask about the temperature taking. Okay, and I assume that we're getting this information out to all the parents and students. It's on the website, or an email has gone out to them from Christianazzo, perhaps?
We're still waiting, I know, for the verification from the state, but this is what the NJSA said is going to happen. So as soon as that is completely approved, we'll have that on the website, and also Mr. Yanazzo will make sure it's spread out in terms of our athletes, our coaches, and our parents.
Yeah, I just think it's important for parents to know about the physical part. I remember having to make those physical appointments months in advance, and now I'm sure it's even worse. So I'm sure that will be a relief to them.
Yes.
I don't know if the governor's going to, reveal anything tomorrow in his reopening guidance. And I don't know, I have not heard anything personally that's going to be included in there, but we have no idea. He may say something with reference to return to athletics tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. I had one more question. It was actually a request for a little bit of an explanation. Bernie, perhaps you could address items 10 through 24 are all cooperative purchasing agreements. And I wanted to point this out to the public because we don't just pay lip service to saying that we do our best to be financially responsible, fiscally responsible. That would be 14 different cooperative purchasing agreements that we enter into for an effort to save as much money as possible. So Bernie, I was wondering if you could just talk for a minute. I don't expect you to know exactly how much we save, but I'm sure this has a tremendous positive effect.
Yes, absolutely. So, we know that, purchasing in bulk always results in savings. And so what these cooperatives enable are governmental entities, school districts, local governments, county governments, and the like, to be able to get together and purchase, because there's more power purchasing together. And as you noted, we have a myriad of consortia that we participate in, not only for goods and services. I mean, that's what it is. It's not only goods, but it's also services of a variety of types. It could be anything from facilities maintenance to services that may be required to support students in their education. Additionally, there's also cooperative agreements that we enter into for transportation services as well. So it covers the gamut, and we do believe that it is absolutely beneficial, certainly more efficient than if we were to do each of these on our own.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? This is not a roll call vote.
Yes, roll call.
It is.
There are some items in this batch that require a roll call.
Oh, okay. My bad. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mrs. Guas,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Wax,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes. Motion carried. Moving on to our Board of Education items. Can I please have a motion for items 1 to 3 on Board of Education agenda?
So moved. Value.
Moved by Li Wu,
Jeff. Second.
second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? This is a roll call vote. Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mrs. Guas,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Wax,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese. I'm sorry, I missed that.
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to the community programs agenda, can I please have a motion to combine items 1 through 8?
So moved.
Moved by Barbara,
Second.
second by Li Wu. Is there any discussion?
I have a question.
Please.
So I see a lot of interesting programs here and the remote program. So I was just wondering, this is different than what we've done before, right? So how did we go about finding these remote programs? Were they already out there, or?
Yeah, I believe, Mr. Chu, I believe that Mr. Crotchfeld and Anne-Marie Gilbert worked very hard to find vendors that already had a virtualized program. So this isn't something that was just created. It was something that was already kind of tested and beta tested. So I think that we're offering our students a really good opportunity this summer for some enrichment and some opportunities to engage in things that they haven't been able to because of the self-isolation.
Okay, great, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Vicki, it's Jeff. What did you combine here? What's that?
Community programs, item 1 through 8.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you.
No problem. Any other discussion? This is not a roll call.
Not a roll call.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Jane? Motion carries. Moving on to our facilities agenda, there is one item tonight, a bid award. Can I please have a motion for item number 1? Moved by Todd,
Second.
second by Li Wu. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain? Motion carries. Our financial services agenda has 16 items. I would like a motion to combine items 1 through 16. Bueller. Moved by Mark, second by Todd. Is there any discussion?
Yeah, I have a question.
Absolutely.
Tell me about this electric bus grant and the retirement of our buses by entering into this, if I'm understanding that correctly.
Mr. Giuliano.
Yes, this is a really a terrific opportunity that has come to our attention. It just so happens that the buses that would be retired are actually in the process of being retired. So we were already replacing vehicles. The requirement under this grant, and this is these funds are through the Volkswagen settlement, which are being administered by the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection. And what's required is that they want to reduce emissions, understandably. Some of the research that we've done, Middlesex County has a high level of emissions. So the county does stand to benefit. And they're looking for innovative programs, which this would be, because there are no electric buses at this point in time in Middlesex County, or to my knowledge, anywhere in the state. We are looking to replace 11 diesel-fueled buses with 11 electric buses. We do have the infrastructure at our support operations facility. We're planning that at some point in time we would want to have electric buses, so we included the infrastructure when we constructed that facility. So now it's a matter of putting the components in. So, and just for members of the public, if they haven't looked at the agenda, this particular package is worth $4.5 million.
What
Grant funding.
Fully paid, fully funded through the Volkswagen settlement program. Not a dollar would come from the district.
now that also includes any type of installation costs, any labor costs? There will be zero cost to the district?
That is our expectation, yes.
What's the reliability? Have we done any evaluation on these buses as compared to other buses?
They are, Dr. Valesky and I had an opportunity a couple of years ago to attend an energy meeting where this particular manufacturer's bus was available, and we took a ride in it, and it was just phenomenal. The history on these vehicles is very good. California has been rolling these out in large quantities, so we're very optimistic to what this can do for the community.
It sounds great. I just don't want to, just kind of go into this without. Now these buses, how often do they need to be recharged? Because we're running several routes. Will we get in a situation where they're going to not be available?
So the vehicles, in talking to the manufacturer, because we've been working with them and preparing the application, and so if I remember correctly, the vehicle charge would provide for 125 miles of travel on one charge. So that would easily provide for service throughout the course of a day. And then at the end of the day, buses would be returned to home base. They'd be hooked up to the charging stations. They would charge during low demand periods. And for the next morning, they'd be ready to roll.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah, Jeff, I was just going to say, Jeff, that visit that Bernie referenced, it was actually we received quite a few presentations from a bus company in terms of taking part in a pilot program. We were given large amounts of information. Several board meetings, we had presentations from the bus company with a lot of information, and then there was the on-site visit. So this is something that had already come up a few years ago, just if that provides you any comfort level. Todd?
Yeah, Bernie, remember when we were talking about this, we could use the buses as a source of power in a power outage or something like that. Whatever happened to that?
So that was a program that was initiated by, if I remember correctly, it was Public Service Electric and Gas. They were looking for proposals that would provide for emergency sources of energy in the case of an emergency, such as what we experienced in Sandy, for example. So one of the plans at that point was we had identified some locations throughout East Brunswick, such as service stations, which can't function without electricity, and where the vehicles would have been deployed to be able to provide power so that the gas pumps would actually be able to continue to work. We were not successful in that process. We didn't receive any kind of feedback, actually. And it just kind of died. But that's what you're recalling. And it was a process that was intended to provide for some emergency services so that the vehicles could be deployed for that purpose.
Susanna, you were involved in that, I think, or new?
Yeah, that was a solicitation. I was not part of the team that was running that solicitation at PSE&G. So for full disclosure, I work for PSE&G. I work in the department that issued that solicitation, and Bernie is correct. We were not successful in winning that. It was a competitive process.
Barbara, I believe you.
I do have a question on this one. This grant, is it a competitive grant, or is it a bunch of, kind of first come, first serve, or what, what's the selection criteria for this one?
The information that that was put out doesn't really specify that it's a competitive grant. Although I would imagine that they are going to assess what these proposals look like and the extent to which it meets what the Department of Environmental Protection's objectives are. I think one of the main things is the impact to reduce pollutants within high pollution areas. Dr. Valesky, you're muted.
I'm sorry about muting myself. I just wanted to say that one of the things that we could expect if we are successful in obtaining these buses is that we would be part of a test bed, be giving feedback to the manufacturer on the utilization of electric school buses, in particular, with a load and in winter conditions, what kind of battery life do we get, those kinds of things, and feedback to the manufacturer. So I would generally expect we would be in conversation with engineers and manufacturer throughout the term of this project.
Barbara?
Yeah, no, it's an exciting opportunity, and my question is just: is it a hybrid bus or is it specifically electric?
It is an all-electric vehicle.
Okay. I mean, we're even around town, we have more electric fuel stations. Even if you look in the Brunswick Square Mall, there's a bunch. Mm-hmm. And so that's really the way a lot of places are going. And honestly, I would feel safe having my kid on that bus. So thank you for doing this.
And it's cleaner for the air as well. The electric buses, that's one of the things it'll do, is it'll clean up the air locally. So yeah, let's hope for this. And as well, there's a lot of other initiatives focusing on electrification. So if not this one, there'll be other ones. And I think, Bernie and the team here have had the foresight to prepare our infrastructure so that it's ready for electric vehicles. So if not, like I said, I don't know if it's competitive or not this one, but I think there'll be more opportunities is what I'm saying. There's definitely a focus on improving environmental impact through electrification.
Bernie, I have a question. Are these buses rated in terms of safety in the same way that a traditional combustion engine buses?
Yes, they in order to operate in New Jersey, they must pass and meet and pass all of the requirements for any type of school bus that's operating in the state. So it meets all of those criteria. That was one of the first questions that I asked. There was no point in going down a path for buses that we would not be able to use. And they do meet all the criteria, and that's all the safety criteria. So we would be in good shape with that.
Fair enough. Thank you.
In terms of sustainability, it's a tremendous initiative. You know, as Susanna pointed out, what it will do for the environment alone. And I think it fits along with what we've been trying to do as a district to harness things that are brought to us that can increase our ability to be sustainable in all aspects of our operations. So I think it's a great thing.
I think one of the things also in terms of vehicle maintenance, because no one asked about that, but vehicle maintenance really is limited to tires and windshield wipers. That's
What's
it.
the life of the battery?
The vehicles is anticipated to be able to meet the 15 year plus. And actually the company was talking about how they are going to be deploying the used batteries after the 15 years. And used batteries of this type are actually going into other kinds of projects because their life is longer than what we would be able to utilize for purposes of a bus. So we should have no problem with that.
Okay.
If I may add, I'm just looking online over here also. The battery is an 8-year warranty, and it has an electric motor that actually offers more energy than the regular motor that we have now. So if anybody is interested to see more, it is online because it's a Lion, correct? The Lion buses?
A Lion bus, yes.
Yeah, belionelectric.com. I'm not sure if it's our particular one, but they explain in detail. And these buses have zero emissions. So in our efforts to try to help the environment, this is a wonderful step forward.
One more thing also, Barbara, thank you for bringing that up because this particular vehicle also, in certain points of its operation, recharges the battery to a certain extent as well. So it's not just drawing, there are points in the operation where it's working to recharge. So yeah, it's quite good, quite good.
I had a question, item, well, two things. Item number 13 references the CARES funding that we're receiving, the CARES Emergency Relief Grant. Bernie or Dr. V, if you could just talk again, what can we use this money for?
Juliana, do you want me to, or you want to?
Feel free, that's fine.
The CARES. There are specific purposes, and I think let me see. I'm sorry, President Becker, which item was it under financial? Was it 13?
13, yes.
14. I want to make sure we have a number of, there we go.
Oh, sorry, I might be on the old agenda.
Yeah, so there were specific requirements that the money can be used for. They could be used to deploy technology, they could be used for building sanitization, or for mental health support for students and staff. And we had already identified as a board the priority of investing in therapeutic counseling and support for our students primarily, and then being able to point staff in the appropriate directions to be covered by their own insurance. So that became a high priority. We had already invested in technological infrastructure to support our students' distance learning. And we had already done a very, very robust job of getting prepared to sanitize our buildings even before the closure for the pandemic. So we felt very strongly that the focus of this funding should be on that mental health component allowed by the CARES Act. It has a 2-year life, so it would be used over the course of the 2020-21 school year and 2021-22 school year.
So just to make sure that the general public understands, because it's a nice amount of money. This
Yes,
is not just money being given to the school district that we just add to our general fund budget. This is for very, very specific purposes, and I'm assuming we're going to have to provide backup and justification for every penny of it.
absolutely, and it's very tightly controlled. So that's why, you know, the fact that we'd already performed an RFP and have a response to that RFP, it's aligned with what we had already planned in advance of the CARES funding. It helps support our recovery on the mental health side very nicely for the next 2 years.
Thank you. Just one more question. Bernie, line item 14, the schedule of 2020-21 tax payments from the Township of East Brunswick. There had been talk and different policies changing the deadline and providing people with perhaps tax relief. I just want to know if us being in good shape in terms of what we received from the township. We received what we were supposed to.
Payment schedule has been right on time. There have been no issues, and the payment schedule for the new fiscal year is consistent with how it's been developed in the past. So we've been A-okay at this point.
And any update on funding from the state?
No, other than the report that I provided a few meetings back, we are still looking at the reduction of approximately $1.6 million in next year's budget. That's an additional reduction from what we had originally incorporated into the final budget. We've not received any guidance at this point from the DOE. That's what everyone is waiting on, as well as whether there's any supplemental information to come as a result of the governor's anticipated budget message that is slated for the end of August. So right now we're just holding steady, waiting. We have been working, and I don't want to give the impression that we've not done anything and just waited. We have been working on some alternatives, and we'll be having appropriate conversations with the board.
So when is the next scheduled state aid payment from the state due, usually?
The state actually, state payment that would normally have come in July is getting pushed off. So there's a bit of a delay on that, but the amount is really not substantial.
Okay.
So it's not going to hurt us.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mrs. Guaf,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yeah.
Mr. Hong, your voice changed.
Oh, yes.
Mrs. Lax,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. We have one item on our food services agenda. It's a contract renewal. Can I please have a motion for that?
So moved.
Moved by Wu, second by Jeff. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Motion carried. I'd like an item to combine, motion to combine items 1, 2, and 3 on our human resources agenda, please.
So moved, Mark.
Moved by Mark,
Second.
second by Lewu. Is there any discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mrs. Guas,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to our student services agenda, can I please have a motion for items 1 through 3?
So moved.
Second.
By Lee Wu, second by Barbara. Is there any discussion? I had a question. In item number 3, there's a very long list of approving out-of-district placements. Do we expect that the guidelines that the governor provides tomorrow and throughout the summer will also be in reference to these special or private schools where we send our students to? And more important, I don't know how much we have to pay before September, but if the situation changes, what are we going to be looking at in terms of getting our money back? Or, I mean, of course, there's always discussion about what are the options, the viable options for educating these children as we need to. But just in terms of the financial aspect of it, what are we going to be responsible for before we know if they're even going to open?
President Becker, I think that the guidance the governor is going to offer tomorrow will apply to all public and private institutions, including those that offer services to our students that we send to out-of-district placements. I'd like Mr. Giacobbe to weigh in on the financial obligation once the board takes action on this, because there are services that these entities have been providing to students in a virtualized environment. Obviously, it's not the face-to-face environment, but everybody's had to shift. That was a requirement that was laid out under the law and reinforced when we closed our facilities, that services would still be provided to students, but in a remote fashion, in connection with students as needed to support in therapeutic opportunities. So, Mr. Giacobbe, did you have anything that?
Most of these, all of these out-of-district placements are based on IEPs. And the IEP is a legal document, and it's been determined by the professionals that these present the least restrictive environment for these children with various needs. So we can't unilaterally change that. And right now, Governor Murphy tomorrow is going to be announcing, and his announcements will cover these types of schools that will have similar restrictions. As you're aware, Governor Murphy did announce that extended school year can start to occur this July in person with social distancing, masks, etc. So I envision that the governor's office is cognizant that many of these students require in-person instruction and in-person services, whether it be physical therapy, occupational therapy, behavioral therapy. So I think that that's going to be covered tomorrow, but we are obligated to maintain these out-of-district placements because they are contained in the various IEPs for students that require these types of services.
And I believe I'm questioning the expenditure itself. It is my sincere hope that we can give all of these special needs students everything that we can. I was just concerned about approving a tremendous amount of money for these particular centers, schools, without knowing if they're actually going to be open. But I guess everybody in the state will be in the same boat.
That is correct.
Okay. So any other discussion?
Susanna?
Susanna?
Yeah, I just have a question on number 2, which is the HID self-assessment. I think it's the first year I've seen that our self-assessment came out with a perfect scorecard. So Lou, I'd like to hear your comments on that. I mean, I know some of it is training, or just like you to comment on that and hear your thoughts.
That is very observant. Yes, you were correct, Ms. Chu. This is the first year that we have actually come out with a perfect score. Um, Part of the reason of that is our professional development, the hard work by all our staff and administration. But also the state has kept the rubric the same the last few years. So we were able to improve on those areas that we felt we needed improvement. Finally we came out with what the state would say is a perfect score based on our self-assessment that they have looked at. We still feel there's work to be done. We're always looking to improve on our school climate, and our safety teams in our schools are working towards that already for next year. But thank you for noticing. And yes, it's kudos to all involved, our principals, especially who run the safety teams, our student assistant specialists, all of our teachers and staff throughout, and of course our students and our families that have been part of the success of that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And as you said, there's always more work to be done, but these are the basics, and it sounds like you've gotten them into place. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Will the secretary please call the roll?
Mrs. Chu,
Yes.
Mr. Sismar,
Yes.
Mrs. Guas,
Yes.
Mr. Hong,
Yes.
Mrs. Lax,
Yes.
Mrs. Reese,
Yes.
Mr. Simmons,
Yes.
Mr. Winston,
Yes.
President Becker.
Yes, motion carries. Moving on to the transportation services, can I please have a motion for items 1 and 2?
So moved, Mark.
Moved by Mark,
Second.
second by Lee Wu. Is there any discussion? Bernie, I don't have the second motion in front of me. Is it a roll call or not?
This is voice vote.
Okay. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Motion carried. Moving on to committee reports, information items, and for the good of the cause for the board. Is there anyone from the board who has something they want to talk about? Lori? You have to turn your microphone. Okay. Good.
I know, sorry about that. I just wanted to mention that the Indian Cultural Society had their emerging artist virtual gala or virtual recognition of a young lady from our high school, a 10th grader, rising 11th grader, Sophia Sepulveda Pizarro, won Defying Gravity was her award-winning script, and Dr. Lesky and I were there, and it was beautiful. All the people that spoke about her. The girl herself was unbelievably well-spoken, and hopefully at some point maybe we can have her come in and do a reading for the board, or at least a partial reading. So just wanted to mention that. She was very, very, very impressive young lady.
Thank you, Lori. I was just informed that our new student rep is with us tonight. Tony?
Good evening. Hi.
Whoa, coming during, school's over, your first board meeting, way to go. Is there anything you would like to say tonight, or are you just kind of sitting back, taking it all in?
No, I do have some things to say, specifically relating to the end of the school year. I'm sure you're all interested in the student perspective. And generally, it's very happy. The beginning of summer is always a great time because you never think about the end of summer, which seems to be the most sad time. But for the beginning, or for the end of the school year, there were a few feelings that it was a little anticlimactic, which I understand, especially with there being no finals. And I guess you're on in the school environment for the final few days. I guess it's kind of weird to one day wake up and just suddenly school is over. But I think the virtual graduation really helped ease some of those feelings. And personally, myself, I thought the virtual graduation was very well made. I believe a majority of the seniors and even kids from other classes were watching it. And even if people didn't watch it, with the alternative of an in-person graduation, I guess it values the virtual a little bit less, but it's still a great cause, and it was very well made. I also want to inform you that there was a great student turnout at the food drive that was hosted at the mall every Saturday in June. and it was dedicated towards helping families and organizations that have been stricken by COVID who have run out of food. And yeah, as I mentioned, we got a great student turnout. I don't know the exact number, but a lot of pounds of foods that have been donated. So go EB for I guess the collective effort to donate some food. And yeah, I guess in general, it's just a very happy time. And the biggest question is what's going to happen in September, which I'm sure you don't have an answer for, but yeah, that's about it. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much. What are your plans for September? I mean,
Well,
for the summer. I meant for the summer.
School.
for the summer, unfortunately, I had a program lined up at Stevens Institute of Technology that was like a summer research thing, but unfortunately that was canceled. Like most summer programs, so a lot of kids are kind of scrambling to get last minute internships. As am I fall on that boat, but it seems that it's going to be a very independent summer for both me and for a lot of my peers.
Just think you'll have all that time to spend on getting your college essay ready.
That is also true. A lot of kids, but there's also a lot of talks relating to college about colleges not allowing early action, which is like the deadline for which I guess most kids cram for, and at least what most kids would be focused towards if they worked on it over the summer. And main reason why colleges would do that is just to give kids more time to take their standardized tests, like the SAT and the ACTs. Most of the summer tests have gotten canceled. But even then, yeah, a lot of kids would end up working on college applications over the summer.
Yeah, you'll have to update us on the college application process for the fall. It's going to be different too. Thank you so much for coming tonight. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you so much for you guys.
Any other board members wishing to speak at the good of the cause? Well, Susanna?
Yeah, just a brief update on the East Brunswick Human Relations Council. I haven't reported out on that in a while. So that is a council that has continued to meet as we do remotely and using conference calls. There have been a series of coffee and conversations kind of highlighting all the groups that have been active, helping, doing things in the community. And actually, Dr. Valesky, I think we talked about it at a prior meeting, was featured on one of them. I think there's another one coming up. I don't remember the exact date, but I would ask, that if you're interested to follow them on Facebook, East Brunswick Human Relations Council, and the next event is featuring some of our restaurants that have been, hit hard by tough times, but have helped in the community, donating food to first responders, and so they're going to be featured in the next one. So yeah, I encourage folks to follow it, and just a good way to stay connected to all the good things that are happening in the community.
Thank you, Susanna. Thanks for all the time that you spend. I know that it involves a lot of time and effort, and you've really been doing a great job for years with that.
And of course, Lou is a member of the council as a community member and a member of the Human Relations Council as well.
Well, we're happy to have you there. And Lou, you too. I just wanted to also offer congratulations to Bernie, Tara, and Joe and their entire staff on the latest honor. It just reflects the integrity and commitment you have to fiscal responsibility. And it's one of the reasons why everything is possible. So great job, guys.
Thank you.
Any oh, Susanna was at a class. Yay. Jeff?
Just real quick, what, Victor, or anybody who knows, maybe Lou, what was the response like on the surveys you had sent out to the seniors, the graduates, for the upcoming ceremonies? I know you sent out the survey. What was the RSVP like?
Dr. Vanella and Mr. Hannes reported that there was over 600 students that were reported to come, and they were following up with other students that didn't respond. So the class, I believe the number was around 662 total. So it was a very, very positive response.
Good. And I know it was a long journey to get here, but thank you very much. And congratulations to the seniors that they at least they can leave with a little bit of magic. I think it's great. I'm glad so many are participating. So thank you and your staff for making this work.
Well, thanks to Dr. Vanella and especially to Matt Hannis. Matt Hannis has been the architect behind graduations as the assistant principal. That fell under his responsibility. And this virtualization of graduation and now pulling off this in-person graduation safely in coordination with the township. There are a lot of people to thank, but Matt was a key player and Dr. Vanella behind the scenes working with the class and the parents. So I appreciate everyone, including our township partners, the police department, and everybody who's going to be involved in making it a highly successful event.
All right, great. And just to be clear, Lou had nothing to do with it. I'm kidding.
No, Lou was involved too with OEM and John Cossack. So we have a lot of contributors. The mayor, everyone, this Board of Education has been supporting us every step of the way, and it seemed like we would take one step sideways, and maybe take half a step forward, half a step back, and it seemed pretty precarious at times. But I'm thankful and appreciative that we finally got to this point.
Jeff, is a parent of a senior, congratulations to you and your family.
Yeah, he's done. He checked out several months ago, apparently. But yeah, he's done. He's good.
Yeah, this has been quite a year for recognition for the district. We had Dr. Vanella being recognized by his professional association as the best in the state. We had Christian Azzo being recognized by his organization as the best in the state. Forgive me if I'm leaving anyone out, but it's just great to be a part of this district.
It is.
Anyone else? We do have a need for a closed session. So can I please have a motion for the Board of Education must discuss matters which are not appropriate for discussion in a meeting. The Board of Education intends to discuss matters as follows. Those items on tonight's agenda. The length of the closed session is estimated to be 30 minutes, after which a public meeting of the board shall reconvene and action will not be taken. Can I please have a motion to go into closed session?
I'll move.
Second by Liwu. Is there any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstain? Motion carries. Board members, please leave this meeting and log into the closed session. The rest of you, thank you for joining us tonight, and please stay safe.
Good night.
Yeah.
Good night.